Okay, so what we're going to do today is everybody's going to say a thing or two, but I'll first I'll talk about Clarissa is going to start. Clarissa's been in Italy for 19 years, and after the referendum, she joined a group called Brexpats Hear Our Voice, which is, you can find it online. It's a wonderful Facebook group, but there's a lot more to it than that, obviously. And their aim was to campaign for our rights, and in particular to support people who were maybe in difficulty for a very large number of reasons. So that, I think, well, I'll let Clarissa tell you about exactly what the project is all about. But Clarissa joined our group, British in Italy, to help us to work for our rights in Italy. So that's much more specific than, because the first book, In Limbo, was actually about European citizens in the UK. The second book, In Limbo 2, was about British citizens in Europe. Anyway, so I'll pass the word to Clarissa first.
Thank you. So I'm the newbie, even more of a newbie than Anne in British in Italy. So I've spent most of my time since the referendum in a group called Brexpats Hear Our Voice. I think we even have some members of that group here. Before you ask, we hate the name Brexpats. It just happened because the woman who founded the group, it was a spontaneous reaction after the shock of the result of the referendum, and it was the first name that came to mind. Since then, we haven't really felt comfortable being labelled as expats. A lot of people don't identify with that label that we think is quite sort of outdated. But we couldn't really come up with anything better, so it stuck. And people have got to know us by that name. But the important part is the Hear Our Voice part. So from day one, more or less, there's been a lot of campaigning going on, a lot of lobbying. The group has grown now. We've got about 2,000 members right across the EU 27, and some members in the UK as well. We do a lot of studies within the group, things like we collect case studies of vulnerable people. We've put together studies of things like what's been the cost of Brexit to you so far. Very, very high up on the list, unfortunately, was stress and anxiety. After that, perhaps financial considerations. But one of the important things is that we are a mirror of the EU citizens in the UK, and you may be aware that we now have groups who are working really, really closely together, which is wonderful because we're showing a lot of sort of solidarity. So this is the second book. This is the second book which tells the stories of British people living in the EU. It followed the first book, which was just called In Limbo. An Italian woman called Elena Remigi, who lives in the UK, it was her brainchild, and then she approached us and asked us if we would collaborate to produce the second book. This came out on the second anniversary of the referendum, and the first book came out the year before. We're sincerely hoping that it won't be necessary to produce In Limbo 3. So these are telling the sort of very human stories, the human cost of Brexit. It's really what you're not going to find in any government technical notice. And we thought it was very important that we get these across to decision makers. And also these books, we hope, will also serve as a historical record. Because as I say, you're not going to find it in all the official documentation, how it's affected human beings, and of course everybody's affected in different ways. So there we go, we've got other more important things to talk about. But if anybody would like to join our group, you'd be very welcome. So Brexpats Hear Our Voice, and we're not just a talking shop, we're a sort of action group. We like doing things. Anyway, thank you.
You can get the book on Amazon.
Oh yes, sorry, I forgot that. Yes, plug for the book. Yes, both books are available on Amazon. It's a not-for-profit book, so any money made from the book will go back into promoting the book, getting it out to decision makers, and making sure that as many people get to see it as possible.
Okay, thank you very much, Clarissa.